Hello and welcome to Random or Nintendo number 26. I am Jason, your host for this fine evening, or morning, or afternoon, or really whenever you're listening to this. And besides me, I have two wonderful co-hosts who are virtually sitting nearby. We have Kevin celebrating the win of the New York Jets that has occurred moments before we recorded tonight.
Jets, baby.
And and I have a lot of questions for you about why the Jets. And we have Angel, who has returned from the woods. Angel, what happened? Where'd you go?
I got lost in the woods. Then I found my way out. I was lost and then I was found.
No encounters.
Pretty come dry.
Oh.
I was lost and then I was found. That's how the song goes, right?
Sounds like someone found God.
Wait, is that what I was referencing? Was I referencing?
I mean, it's a Jesus thing, isn't it? Like,
I
was lost and now I'm found.
Huh. Well, yeah, by the Church of Nintendo again, because I had lost my way at some point.
I didn't realize you found your way back to Nintendo. Did you buy Zelda finally? Did you buy Pikmin finally? What brings you back into was it Mario Wonder that brought you back in the fold?
I guess it was Mario Wonder. No, that's a lie. I still haven't even purchased either of those games, but I guess it was Charles Martinet. I think it was just seeing how genuinely happy he seems about the situation. But the back of my head is still kind of like, I don't know. We know he loves to do conventions. We know he loves his fans. He gives everyone the time of day, no matter how long the line is. He's an amazing person. But he kind of did that, for fun. But now it's his job, and I wonder how long that's going to last before he ends up not liking it.
Well,
I could be completely wrong. That just never happens. Hopefully, because
to back that up a split second, he does get paid for his appearances, and he does a lot of conventions.
No, yeah, of course.
So I think it's also his job. Yeah, let's be real.
Yeah, but now it's all
let's say
he does, I guess.
Yeah, but it's been pretty much all he's done for the last few years. Because how long do you think it took him to record his 3 lines in the Mario movie, or his 6 zingers in the last? What was the last Mario Strikers? Maybe that was the last one.
Wait, you didn't know that?
I don't know.
Literally every Mario recording session lasts like a couple weeks. Do you know how many?
That's insane.
Do you know how many wahoos he has to do over and over and over and over again?
Mamma mia!
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
Right.
Or wowie zowie, as Mario now says.
I should have no idea, but long story short, just wish him the best. Hope we get to run into him sometime. I kind of need to buy a new slip. Well, I guess I could just get another copy of Mario Galaxy 2 and use that slipcover over mine, because my current one says Nigel's Super Mario Galaxy.
That's that story. Have we ever told that story?
We definitely have. There's no way we haven't.
Okay.
At the very least, when it was Random Nintendo, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I
think we might have told it at the 10th anniversary.
Probably whenever we recorded it, because that was the time that we got him to say an intro for the show, I believe.
Indeed. And Angel, you would have heard a lot of this if you weren't finding God in the woods, because Kevin and I had our thoughts about this last episode. But yes, it is nice to see that he seems chipper about it. But Kevin. Let's circle back for a second. The Jets. Why Jets? You don't live in New York.
Correct.
You're not sure if you live in New York?
No, so basically when I was younger, to put it in perspective, my dad is a hardcore New York Yankees fan. And so being a New York Yankees fan, I sort of gravitated just towards the New York teams. And so I just gravitated to pretty much just like I just randomly chose like what New York teams I wanted to be a fan of. Okay. And so it was the Jets for NFL, and it was the Islanders for hockey. Don't really care enough about basketball. I do not care for that sport. And back then, I don't even think the MLS was a thing back when I decided to choose all the New York teams. So, yeah, that's pretty much the only reason why.
I mean, that's as good a reason as any, I guess. Angel, you're a big fan of, and by what I mean by big fan of is the one team you ever evoke is the Detroit Lions, right?
Yeah, the Animal Crossing people, right?
What does that mean? What do you mean the Animal Crossing people? Like, are the players all villagers from Animal Crossing? Is that what you're implying?
Yeah, that's how they introduced themselves many seasons ago, whenever that happened.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. In one of the roster or one of the schedule release videos. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they used Animal Crossing, and they became my team. So unless there was another team intro thing that used some property that I like, the Lions...
There was a Pokemon one. I forgot who it was, though.
Send it to me, and I'll see if it ends up being my new favorite team.
If I can find it. Yeah. All right. I don't think I have favorite teams.
The Beavers?
I was at an Islanders game, actually. The Beavers?
They have orange...
Sport? What?
Yeah, the Beavers.
What sport
Football.
are you even talking about? Do you mean the Buffalo Bills?
The Beavers.
Just lost to the Jets.
The Beavers.
Suck it, Bills fans.
Wait, who are the Beavers? Is it Major League or Minor League? Let's start.
You honestly think that he's going to know?
I'm just curious where this is
They
going.
were playing that one time that we went to that friend's house when we were watching NASCAR or some kind of racing, and you made a bet with my brother that team would win, or my brother bet like $20 or something, and he lost.
Okay, so I don't remember what team it was.
The one with the Beavers, and they had orange jerseys.
Is this a real thing? Am I about to Google orange jersey Beavers and hope the results are appropriate? Orange jersey. This is some riveting. This is the type of podcast you get when I start hosting again. Orange jersey Beavers. They are a real team. Oregon State.
Yeah. And they lost
Oregon State.
that one game.
Which means I won because I had the bet. I won $20 in that bet of a team I don't even know.
I mean, I'm going to forget an orange jersey team named the Beavers. Come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry I doubted you. But you definitely switched from Major League to college, so...
Tomato.
I mean, I guess to Kevin's point, would you know the difference?
I really didn't.
But, yeah. But sports aside, what's going on with you guys? What's new? I feel like
It's been 2 weeks since we last talked? Because it really was?
Yeah, I feel like it's been 2 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks for Angel finding God, but 2 weeks for the rest of us.
No, I talked to Kevin a couple days ago, and I definitely talked to you.
But on the podcast.
I was there in spirit.
I mean, I just saw you 2 days ago, Angel, but that doesn't count in this conversation.
I guess.
Yeah. I was going to say, to set up the how are you doing, we're in an interesting little spot here because we are right at the cusp of a lot of events with a lot of news, with a lot of things. No matter what you're into, there's probably a Nintendo Direct any day now. There's definitely an Apple event tomorrow morning as of this recording. There's Google events, Microsoft events, AI events, car shows, Disney announcements. There's just a stack of stuff over the next 6-8 weeks. So this is kind of the calm before the storm. So again, the question becomes, how are you guys doing in this calm before the storm?
I mean, pretty great. Procreate just announced recently Procreate Dreams, which if you follow me on things, Procreate is my preferred drawing app for drawing on iPad. It's just a really well done app. No, use it for everything. It's what I use to make my stickers and stuff. But basically, they decided to make their own fully fledged animation software. It's still yet to be determined exactly what the specifications and all that fun stuff is, but if it's Procreate and if it's just basically a more fully fleshed out version of the basic animation they allow in their current app, which I use to make some GIFs, then I can only imagine it's going to be really great. But I think the best part is that this company, despite, a lot of software companies going the subscription route, it's still going to be just $20. It's still, no subscription, just a one-time payment. And they promise that just
do you mean 20 or 200?
20.
Why did I read 200 somewhere about this?
Maybe 20, and then they put two little zeros. But, yeah, and if it's anything like Procreate, which they say it will be, any future updates, blah, 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 they're all going to be free. I mean, Procreate has gotten so many updates and quality of life changes and just additional features since I've started using it 5-6 years ago. And yeah, they've been very substantial and all free. So I never have any qualms supporting them or using their stuff because, I mean, I've used those I've had a $2,000 like Cintiq tablet many moons ago. I don't have that anymore. Like, the industry standard for animation and drawing or whatever that I had hooked up to my computer. And it was great. But yeah, the iPad, it's the same, if not better. Like, drawing on it, it's no different. So the fact that I could take this anywhere, use it as a second monitor, and basically use it like a Cintiq, but now can use it for animation too. Well, animation, the way Procreate does it. There are some other animation apps I've played with in the past that have just been okay, or just get the job done. But, I just haven't been really excited about just software in a while. But yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That's how I've been.
Can't
wait to open that up for future projects and whatever. Maybe, and this is a big maybe, but like maybe I'll even use it for something random Nintendo related. But we'll see where that goes because things have been changing. So yeah,
times they are a changing.
And how about you, Kevin?
What about me?
Do you have soft? Well, what about you? How you doing? Do you have software you're eagerly anticipating or less eagerly anticipating?
Software?
Or
Spider-Man
anything,
2, I guess.
I was just asking how you're doing. I was piggybacking off what he was talking about.
Oh, gotcha.
How's life for Kevin?
You know what? It's been going great. The Jets won. And,
you don't say.
Yeah,
huh.
You haven't heard around town?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
And I love how for most people listening to this, it'll be such outdated news by then, too, that they're hearing this, the Monday Night Football game when I'm listening to it on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
No, I don't know. Life's been life. It is what it is.
That's fair. Life is life. That life is life.
But
we've all been consuming things in life, right? Like we've all been consuming content. We've all been consuming games and game news. So should we jump down into our list here and start talking about some stuff?
Capitalists, yes. Oh no, consumerism, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and capitalism because that's what fuels the consumerism. But yeah, so, we usually seem to save Nintendo for the end on these somehow. Not intentionally, it just always seems to happen. Let's start with Nintendo, because Nintendo gave us a bit of a 1-2 punch over the last couple weeks, because we had a Super Mario Wonder Direct and about 15 minutes of new information, and a Nintendo Live convention, I guess you could say, that was attached to PAX West up in Seattle over Labor Day weekend. Either of you guys watch anything from either? Pay attention to either?
No, sir.
It's fine if it's not. Did you, Angel?
Nothing from live, and I honestly just randomly caught the Mario Wonder. I had no idea it was announced or scheduled. I just stumbled upon it on YouTube. I'm not even subscribed to Nintendo on YouTube.
What? Sorry, that was really loud. I probably blew out someone's headphones. What? Really?
I have no reason to.
Neither am I, really.
What? Good thing we're randomer Nintendo now.
I used to be, but
a problem.
The way I see it, the news will find its way to me, and half the time,
if nothing else, through me.
Yeah,
if nothing else, I tell you.
Yeah, and for the most part, especially now, because I love to keep the magic as hidden as much as possible. I did watch this one, obviously, so a lot of the magic was already lost. But
so what were you? Okay, so with that in mind. The magic was lost, but what did you think of the magic that's no longer magical? Like, what did you think of what you saw?
I wish I hadn't seen it. That's what it made me think.
But does it? Okay, but
I know.
You saw that you wish you didn't see. Did you not see it because it looked cool, or are you sad? Let me rephrase that. Are you sad that you saw what you saw and didn't want to see it because you wanted to be surprised by how cool it looked, or was it is it exceeding your expectations? Is it kind of what you expected from the game? Like, where's your head at?
I don't know. It's weird. It's a little bit of everything. Some things like, Bowser becoming a castle, I kind of wish was left as a surprise. That's obviously going to happen at the beginning of the game.
In the first, yep.
But, because it's just so out of I guess it's not that out of left field. It's because it's just random or weird or different. At this point, I'll take anything. Like, I just like, it just seems like something that would have been a nice surprise to just, I don't know. I like the thought of just booting up the game for the first time and just going no pun intended. Like, I wonder where this game will go or where they will take certain things.
Hey,
it feels so novel, but to see, the trade. Just to boot up the game and just see Bowser turn into a castle. Like, just sounds like, ooh, like, just really cool. Versus, now I know it's a castle. They told us what a lot of the flowers do, the wonder flowers. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's...
They did
Nintendo
and
showing
they didn't.
way too much. Big surprise there.
Shocker. Well, so apparently, and see,
even if they didn't show a lot, I feel like I saw more than... it goes back to the thing. Like, and obviously this is very subjective, person to person, but it's like I was sold on the Mario Wonder game just by title alone, just because we've developed this trust with Nintendo and their quality of their 2D Mario games. They need to tell me they announced something called Mario Wonder or that initial teaser, and then that's it. That's like all I need. Like, why see more? I'm already sold. Everything else is just like adding more sugar to a sweet treat.
Right.
And too much sugar will eventually ruin it. Which is kind of what happened to the wonder of Mario Kart 8 back in the day. Like, they literally spoiled everything.
Remember when they walked us through every single menu about 2 weeks before it came out? And it was like, to the degree of like, and then if you press the A button on this screen, it will confirm your choice. It's like, you really don't need to tell people that. Like people know A means proceed. They got it.
I think that was honestly like the start of this kind of like slow degradation of my, I guess, hype cycle appreciation. Where it's just like,
sure.
Like, I think that was like the beginning of the end when Nintendo started doing stuff like that. Or, I think Pikmin 3 also had a very long, very vocal, like, oh my god. Like, by the time the game came out, like, it felt like there was really not much to get excited over except just the great quality of the game itself. Like, I didn't really feel like I was ever really surprised. If anything, because we knew what a lot of the bosses were, which were going to be the majority, and because we thought, like, they even tease, like, oh, and what's this that you might fight later? And then, they don't tell you more. But it's like, oh, that thing looks like the water race, but golden. And then you play the game. They don't really tell you that much more about it. It's the water race, but golden. It's a mystery. Where did it come from? It's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, like, before we get into Wonder itself, like, if you think about how Nintendo overdid it back then, and then you look at, like, kind of how they did Tears of the Kingdom, where they left a lot to, like, the last couple weeks before it came out. And even then, you learned his abilities and stuff, but, like, you didn't know too much about, like, the cave system or anything like that. Like, they kept a lot under wraps for Zelda.
That was really impressive.
But it's interesting because, like, if you think about what they were doing at that time, like, with Pikmin and Mario Kart 8, they were still kind of perfecting or honing in on what is the right, like, digital presentation approach. Like, Nintendo Direct was only a year or two old at that point. These were the first, like, dedicated game live streams, quote unquote, that Nintendo did. So they were definitely kind of like feeling it out and trying to find their footing. And what I think is kind of interesting is they got better at it for sure. Because, like, Mario Wonder, they're not revealing everything. I mean, one of the things they said is every level has a Wonder Seed that does a Wonder thing. And they're all apparently unique in some way. So we've seen the same 4, 5, 6 over and over in the press previews, in the demo at Nintendo Live, in the Treehouse Live, in the Direct itself. But there's a lot that we haven't seen. Tears of the Kingdom was the same way, like I was saying. Pikmin 4, they put out a demo and explained basically what happened in the demo and mentioned a few new Pikmin and then kind of just sent you off and didn't go too deep with it. So they kind of figured that out, it seems, now. But what's interesting is because we don't have an E3 anymore, we don't have like a traditional cycle of like how they give games attention to the public. I feel like the way they were like trying to sort of feel their way through how to handle sharing game news in 2012 with presentations, they're now kind of doing the same thing with figuring out, well, how do we host an event? What do we do for an event? What do we like? How do we get this in people's hands? Do we get this in people's hands? Does it need to be in people's hands? Like, because you look at like Nintendo Live or something like that, just Nintendo Live. It was a really interesting thought experiment of just like, or it can be viewed as a very interesting thought experiment of just like, what if it was E3, but there's only one game Nintendo announced? Because that's essentially what Nintendo Live was. They did the whole full court press for Super Mario Wonder. They had developer interviews. They had a direct the day before the thing kicked off. They had the game on display for you to play and demo, and they had a huge area for it. They had a photo op for it. They had the developers on the show floor. They had like press previews, pre-written, ready to go with hands-on. They had the Treehouse Live for 20 minutes or so. Like, they had everything they would do for E3, but it was the only game. Everything else at Nintendo Live was already released. So it's just kind of interesting that now they're trying to almost figure out, well, how do we do... In the same way before, like, well, how we do the digital thing. It's almost like now in reverse, like, well, we have the digital thing on lock. How we do the analog thing? How do we, like, get it out to people? Because even stuff like, I don't know if you guys saw this report, that the Switch 2, quote-unquote, was shown behind closed doors to developers at Gamescom. Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, all of them were like, we don't need E3. We don't need a centralized event. We're going to do our own thing. We'll go at our own speed. But then, lo and behold, they're still using a centralized event, and Gamescom is kind of like a crutch to be able to interact with other companies, which is what trade show is for. So it still feels like they're kind of feeling their way with a lot of stuff. But it is interesting, to your point, Angel, about like they used to overshare. It's kind of like the opposite side of the same coin as what happened then, just now in the other direction. Like, how do they put it out in front of people, and is it too much? Is it enough? Do we need all the press previews and Treehouse Live? Do we not? Like, it's just like the reverse course for the same question, which is kind of interesting to me, anyway.
I believe that.
Yeah, but that's it about Mario Wonder. Yeah, I'm actually
very excited overall.
Excited
but yeah,
it's
like I
get.
I mean, obviously compared to Pikmin and Zelda, just because Zelda, I will play it eventually. It's just any big game right now, like I just realistically can't really do, and I really want to give it, the proper time. I don't want to like play it an hour here, a couple weeks pass, and then play another hour there. I want to wait until like the next break or something like that, or just something like that. And then Pikmin,
right, it's more of a sit down and explore.
Yeah, I want to be able to play for hours on end without worrying about lots of stuff. And those times will come, and then that'll be when I play Tears of the Kingdom. And then obviously Pikmin, I feel shafted for the lack of co-op, so that waits because it now became in the same boat where now I need to wait for single player campaign, because I'm deprioritizing like single player campaigns. Like Mario Wonder, I'm playing with my brother, so obviously get priority.
You guys picked your characters of the 8 you can play as. Have you decided who you're going to be?
Probably just Mario and Luigi.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wish they didn't.
Actually, I don't know. They all play the same.
Make Yoshi the beginner character. Well, they don't quite play the same. So Yoshi and
I mean, they all play the same except for those two.
Yeah. They're like the beginner characters, which kind of sucks for Yoshi. But it is interesting, to your point about playing the same. One of the things I'm intrigued to see how they do it for Wonder. And Kevin, I don't know if you haven't really been paying attention to Wonder, but I don't know if you heard about this. Basically, it also has like a Paper Mario badge system of sorts where like you can unlock with in-game currency different badges that give you different abilities and assign a single badge going into a level for your character. So if you want everyone, if you want a Flutter Jump, you don't have to pick Luigi. You can still pick Peach, or not Flutter Jump, sorry. His little leg kick. Flutter Jump is Yoshi. If you want something like that, or you want Peach's Hover Jump or whatever, you can use a badge now to give that to any of the characters. And like, they make it make sense for character. Like Peach's Hover Jump is now a hat that they can hold above their head and it inflates, like that sort of thing. But it's interesting because usually the game was very crafted around Mario's abilities. The levels are very specific to Mario's abilities, or like maybe if you do something with Peach, you can get secret or like something. But it's very like you pick your character, the levels are shaped around that character. Now it's kind of like they have to build these levels to support all these different badges with all these different abilities and still have it like feel honed in for that specific skill, I guess. And I guess they're doing something called badge challenges where you can actually do certain mini levels for a badge, and the levels get progressively harder. Or not for a badge, but with a badge, and they get progressively harder. So you still get those like specific honed in platforming challenges for that specific skill. But I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting system because they're sort of separating what characters can do with what you as the player can do for the first time that I can recall in a mainline Mario game. And there's a little Mario Maker influence in there too, because there's like some wacky ones. Like you could be invisible, you can mess with physics, you can like it feels like they kind of plucked some ideas out of Mario Maker that resonated, like kind of the silliness factor, and shoved it into Wonder as well. So I'll be curious to see like just how much variety those badges have, because it is an interesting idea. like I said, I think it does kind of reshape how you think about level design, because it used to be, you need to be Elephant Mario to do this specific thing. But now it's like, well, if you have these badges, the level has to support all those badges to some degree. So we'll see what that shakes out to be. But yeah, I think my biggest thing with Mario Wonder that I want to touch on is it's weird. So I watched the presentation bright and early when it happened, and I kind of came away from it being like, oh, okay. Like, I wasn't as hyped as I thought I would be coming out of it, but it was then that full court press Nintendo did that started to get me more excited about it. And this, again, is Nintendo probably figuring out how much do they say in a direct for folks like you, Angel, who don't want too much. How much do they share in other, like, capacities? But, like, coming out of it, I was just like, oh, this isn't quite as weird and wacky as I thought it might be. Like, it looks pretty relatively standard, minus, some shenanigans each level with the Wonder Flower and the badges and stuff like that. But then I started reading interviews, and then I started hearing things like every level has
some
a Wonder Flower,
shenanigans, isn't like
thing.
the whole game?
Well, so the game basically is every single level there's a shenanigan you can trigger with the Wonder Flower, or you can skip the shenanigan and just play it like a normal level. And the shenanigans per flower vary per level. Each level is going to be unique. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I guess the shenanigans is the whole thing. But, like, watching the footage and seeing them show the same 5, 6, 7 Wonder abilities over and over, I was just kind of like, this doesn't seem as crazy as I thought it would be. Like, it's kind of tame. But then I started reading the interviews, and that's where it got interesting, because apparently, among other things, this game had no deadline for development, which I think is probably a luxury of the fact that the Switch is doing as well as it. Like, because Nintendo did so well at the Switch early on and pumping out their IPs and getting all the big properties on there and getting a bunch of evergreens going, they now have the luxury to say, you know what, take as much time as you need to come up with whatever you need to make the best 2D Mario game we can make. Come up with what you need, work on the physics as you need to make the best Zelda experience with Tears of the Kingdom. Like, they have a luxury that then self-perpetuates its sales, because now these games can be, in theory, the best entries in their respective franchises and thus become late cycle system sellers themselves. So, like, for Nintendo, it works out. But hearing that there is no, like, deadline, like, developers just experiment, and then hearing that developers were specifically told they cannot use any idea from any other Mario game in the initial experimentation, and then reading that apparently they asked everyone working on the game in any capacity to just start submitting ideas basically into a hat. And then they started trying to, like, prototype all the different ideas until they found the most interesting level designs and Wonder Flower abilities. Like, that got me kind of more excited than anything they showed, because I think Nintendo is actually holding the wonderment of it all pretty close to their chest here. And I hope that as you progress through it, this stuff's going to get more and more crazy, just based on everything they've been saying, and just based on, like, the vibe I got from it was very Super Mario World, Super Mario Land 2. Like, if you think about Mario 1, 2, 3 before Mario World, and then the jump to Mario World, you went from a pretty decent progression there. Mario 2's a little weird, sure. But then Mario World's like, surprise, toy new art style, toy new world map. We're going to throw enemies at you that you only see once. We're going to throw levels ideas at you that you only see once. We're going to have this after game thing where, like, suddenly they're like pumpkin heads walking around. Like, it's just like they just did whatever they wanted and they didn't care. And we're so used to it because we played Mario World a million times. But, like, I think back to when I was playing Mario Land 2 for the first time. I talked about it here, I don't know, 6 months ago. And the sheer amount of, like, what is this? This is crazy. Like, what's happening? Like, that's the vibe I'm picking up on from Wonder. And I think they're just playing the cards close to the chest. But I think that's ultimately what it's going to be, is that same vibe of just, like, what? Like, in a Mario game? What? This is so weird. Like, that's what I'm hoping happens. So I'm very excited for that. And even if it doesn't do that, at the end of the day, it still just looks like a very good Mario platformer with with some original ideas like the badge system and whatnot. So it's not going to be bad under any circumstance. But definitely, I went on a little mini hype roller coaster where I think the teaser, I was at peak hype. The director is actually kind of tampered a little, but then hearing more about the process and the developers' sort of freedom got me back in the saddle of being super hyped for it. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Kevin, do you play much of the 2D Mario games? I don't remember.
Yeah, I've played every Mario game.
Okay, yeah. So, what's your favorite of the bunch?
Super Mario. We've been over this. Super Mario World.
No. Sorry, I meant of the new. Sorry, I should have specified the new Super Mario Brothers series.
Of the which? I'm sorry.
No, I meant the new, like the newer ones, like the new Super Mario.
Oh, we've been over this. I don't like those games.
But you have to have one that you like out of the bunch.
Not
right?
really.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, I know you're not the biggest fan, but I was just thinking, like, because they all are so cookie cutter, and then Mario Wii U briefly started to experiment with some ideas. I previously said that felt like the Mario World, like 2.0, because it had the world map that was pretty similar. But where I was going with that, I thought, was this seems to be more like what the New Super Mario Bros. Were trying to be, which I think you and I actually talked about last episode. But yeah, anyway. I'm trying to think if there's anything about Nintendo Live that was worth mentioning to you guys since you weren't paying attention. It was interesting, I thought, that, like I said, they only had one new thing there, which is Mario Wonder. But it was really interesting that all the displays and stuff they had were for evergreen tiles, and many of the displays and stuff they used were things we experienced ourselves when the games were first coming out. You know, like the Smash Bros. Display at E3 with all the items, the Kirby statue thing they did for Kirby and the Forgotten Land that they had at City Walk here in LA. Like, a lot of the stuff was itself evergreen. So it's interesting to see Nintendo host an event that was like a hint of what E3 was, but mostly kind of what their mall tours are. Where it's just like, here's a bunch of our most popular titles, come check them out, and then just sort of souped it up. So I'd be curious to see where that goes in future years. But it looked cool. It just looked a little, you know, like it didn't seem like the FOMO was as strong unless you were dying to try Mario Wonder. Anyway, I think about Nintendo things. Anything you guys want to chime in on before we, I don't know, switch over to something you've been playing, Angel, with the Disney card game?
Not Nintendo related. Not that I could think of at the moment, except, you know, if there is going to be a direct soon, definitely am looking forward to seeing anything. But, yeah, you know, we'll see.
I was thinking of bringing that up to speculate on, but by the time most people hear us, I think the direct might already happen. The rumors are it might happen on the 13th, which is Wednesday of this week. Who knows if that'll be the case. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, you know, what Nintendo has left, essentially, as they gear. I mean, at the end of the day, Switch 2 is coming. There's no doubt Switch 2 is coming. Like, so it's kind of like, what momentum, what gas is left in the tank beyond the gas that was already left in the tank from the surprise amount of stuff we saw in June at that direct. Like, what next? What could they have left? So that'll be interesting to see. I agree. But yeah, let's talk about, Angel. I saw on the list that you, sir, have gotten into Disney's new card game, Lorcana, right? That's how you say it?
Yeah, Lorcana. Did not see that coming, really, honestly. I guess I don't even know how I heard. Oh, there. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how I heard about this because I don't really have any social media, I guess, avenues that would tell me about a new trading card game. But yeah, it was actually like a close friend that pointed me to it because they were a big Disney fan. I'm a big Disney fan. We both played Hearthstone. So, you know, it made sense. And this game is basically, what if you took mechanics of Magic the Gathering / Hearthstone, because Hearthstone is kind of like a simplistic version of Magic the Gathering. This is, I wouldn't say it's somewhere between. It's just a different take on that formula. But
how would you compare it to like Pokemon trading card game? Because that's my point of reference.
I don't even know how Pokemon works.
Oh,
like at all?
Because it has like energy, which is kind of like mana. So I thought maybe there's something there, a parallel.
Maybe. Maybe not.
I
mean,
carry on with
for all I know, it could
analogy.
be like the spinning image of Pokemon. The spinning image of Pokemon. But, yeah, damn, yeah. I never played a single like Pokemon trading card round.
Wow, that actually surprises me.
I never really connected the card. I never liked the idea of the card game, or it never clicked with me because I was like, that's not how the Pokemon anime works. The game is more.
I mean, that was me towards any non-Pokemon franchise. I'd be like, that's not Pokemon, like Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Monster Rancher, any of them.
That's why I like Yu-Gi-Oh, because it was
Pokemon.
It was like, oh, like they're playing the same game in the show as we are in real life, and Pokemon, you know, the video game was the one that replicated that the best, obviously, to some extent.
Kevin, did you ever play the Pokemon card game?
I think so.
Okay, good man. Yeah, I always thought Lorcana was Disney
good, but
trying to sort of ride the wave of Pokemon's renaissance and the cards blowing up so in popularity so much in the last couple of years. But I guess maybe it plays more like Magic. So anyway, carry on. I'll stop interrupting.
Well, any doodle. yeah, so basically, it's kind of like Magic, and as I kind of describe a brief overview of it, you might realize that it's exactly like Pokemon. But essentially, um, like Magic and most card games, you have to spend resources to play cards, except Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! There's no such thing like that, but that's why it's so broken. But normally you have dedicated, resource cards. In the case of Magic, it's your land cards, and I guess in the case of Pokemon, it's your energy cards. So, you probably have to collect a certain number of energy and or land, and then you flip them or you activate them, quote unquote, for that turn to play a card. So, if you have a 60 card deck, maybe 20% or some amount is wasted on resource cards. In Lorcana, any character or item could potentially be used as a resource. Essentially, you don't have dedicated resource cards in Lorcana. So your entire deck is made up of characters from various Disney properties, spells that just activate random effects that turn, or you also have song cards, which are literally like, you have your Hakuna Matata, part of your world, grab your swords, or be our guest, or, a lot of the classics. They also have some new ones like Let It Go and that kind of stuff. And some of those cards, at where it shows you how much they cost to play, some of them have like a golden little, I guess, UI element. Well, I guess not UI element. I guess it's like a little element. And that element will tell you that card can also be used as a resource if you do not want to play it that turn. Or if you don't think it's going to be useful that game. Or maybe you just need to use it because you really need to play something. So you might say like, well, I guess I'm going to spend this Mickey as my resource. So then you just put it in your resource pool. And for the rest of the game, that's just your resource. So every turn, you're just tapping this card that was once Mickey so that you can spend them to play your other cards, like your Tinkerbells or your Stitches or your Lilos or whatever. And yeah, I think they themed it pretty well. Like even the aforementioned song cards, like those need to be, like say the song "Be Prepared" by The Lion King or by, Scar in The Lion King. That one is one of the more powerful song cards because it destroys all the characters on the field. So it just nukes the board. If you're like falling behind, just nuke it. But it costs 7 resources, which is a lot. And you can either wait until you have 7 resource cards to play it, which is basically saying you're sacrificing a whole turn to play that card. Or if you happen to have already spent resources earlier to play a character, like Scar, that normally costs 7, then at the start of your turn, you could say, well, instead of having Scar attack or something, I'm just going to have Scar sing the song. And then, he goes into his little, exhausted or exerted position, so he won't be able to attack that turn, but you get to play that song card for free. And then you still have 7, presumably like 7 resources to work with. So after you nuke the field, then you can play some other things, so you still have advantage. So that's pretty fun. But it's also kind of funny that you could have situations where the Beast will sing the Grab Your Swords card, which is a song that was sung when the villagers of the town were going to kill him, or off to try to kill him. So, yeah, a lot of little things like that. But, yeah, some cards also have flavor text. If you saw Moana, like, you can actually have the grandma in your deck. And when she dies, she just becomes a resource card automatically. So, it's always like she's always helping you. Just to kind of like make some parallels to the movies. But I guess the part that initially had me worried, or just was a concern, was like, well, I feel like they're going to run out of cards pretty fast. Because, first I was like, okay, they're probably not going to have one Mickey. They're probably going to have a bunch of them. And sure enough, they did. But it's at least like, you have your Steamboat Willie Mickey, you have Brave Little Tailor Mickey, you have...
Is there Kingdom Hearts Mickey?
I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually do. At the rate they're going. That would be cool. Like
Kevin,
like King Mickey
Kevin,
or
does that
something.
mean you have to play this card game because it would be canon?
Oh, man.
Because I know you do everything Kingdom Hearts canon.
Imagine they have like a Kingdom Hearts like deck,
Yeah, like a Kingdom Hearts Donald.
like Kingdom Hearts
Goofy.
chapter.
Yeah, they totally can. That'd be.
Then you have to play the whole card game, get all the cards in
Weren't
case
the
there's
Kingdom
any
Hearts
bits of canon in some
characters-
other decks.
The
Man.
Kingdom Hearts characters were apparently at Disneyland not too long ago.
Oh yeah, I
Which-
saw that.
I was like, what was that about? Are they
Is Disneyland considered canon?
are they
now,
gonna
too?
be there when we go?
Good point. I don't know.
Huh, I would like them to be, because I would like to take a picture with that Donald. But, yeah. Yeah, they have like 3 Donalds right now. They have like 5, no, they have like 6 Elsas, because of course you have that many Elsas. But, yeah, it's, so far it looks fun. Definitely looking forward to playing more. The games so far don't take too long. The archetypes are very similar. It feels like a game I've played already, just with a new twist. But except this time, I actually know all the references. Because, when I played Hearthstone, I never played World of Warcraft. So, every card was brand new to me, which, can be exciting in its own right. But there's something to be said about, building a deck around characters that you are very, very fond of. Like, looking forward for there to eventually be enough Donald Duck cards or Donald Duck related support for me to build a deck around. Or maybe not to take it in a sadder route, but it would seem so appropriate if they had like a Fox and the Hound card that's called like maybe it's a spell card, like an action card that just says like, you're my best friend. And maybe the effect could be something like, when your opponent targets one of your minions to deal damage to it, you could pick another one of your characters to take the damage for it instead, or something like that. Like a Mr.
Or
like
a
Mr.
Bambi
President
card, and it's
Oh man,
Bambi
like a
card,
Mr.
and
President.
it's,
like kill a mother on the field or something. I don't know.
yeah. Kill your most beloved card right in front of your eyes.
Yeah. But yeah,
Literally rip your card up right there.
So that being said, though, I said I am into it, but it's only because of this app called Pixelborn, which is a free client that, it's definitely not legal in any way, but boy, did they put a lot of work into it, because it feels like it was an official app. It feels like a low-budget official app for the game. Like, it looks really good, but, it's not always the most responsive. It has little hitches here and there, but it gets the job done really well as far as building your deck, connecting with other people online. It has leaderboards. It has what have you. Like, you can set up custom matches easily. Because right now, the game is, like, sold out, because it's basically, like, the ultimate scalper bait, which, that kind of sucks. So, but it's also Disney. I'm not too worried about. Eventually, like, I'm in no rush. I'll get the cards whenever I get the cards. Like, Disney, I'm sure, is gonna make sure that there's enough for everybody. But
are you planning to physically play the game, like, in person with people when the cards become available?
yeah, I was able to convince enough coworkers to check it out, and we played it online, and they really liked it, and they're very much into it, because they're also very big Disney fans, so that kind of worked out. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How much? So how do they sell it? Like Pokemon cards or Magic cards, or like a booster pack equivalents, like $3-4?
Yeah, I
You
think
get like 10 or 11
I think
cards,
a booster
and
pack
then
is
you
like
can
$5.
get like starter decks and stuff.
Yeah, there's structure decks, there's starter, there's like, booster packs and all, what have you. Like, bunch of ways to get them. Well, I guess not anymore. But in theory, I should have been able to go to any like Target, Walmart, what have you, and buy them. Or any game card store. But yeah, literally nowhere to be found. Not on Amazon, not at Best Buy, not anywhere. Just straight up sold out, unless you go to the aftermarket. But yeah, that's really expensive. Like, I'm not going to pay $300 for a Rapunzel. Like, just a Rapunzel. And normally you need to play 4 Rapunzels in a deck. So yeah, have fun doing that math. But
So you're not going to spend $300 for a Rapunzel, but let me pitch you something, Angel, as a Disney fan. Can I interest you in a 100 animated film box set from Disney that includes every movie they've ever released under Walt Disney Animation Studios and Pixar? It includes side movies from the Disney Toon Studios, like Return to Neverland and The Jungle Book 2, and Planes. It's in Blu-ray. It comes in a full set. 3 volumes, a number of discs across each volume, but each volume opens up like a book with pictures of every single poster for every single movie. You get a crystal Mickey Mouse cap. You get, what else do you get? You get like a lithograph of Wish, because that'll be out after this comes out. Would you be interested in this, and would you like to guess how much it would cost you?
Yes, and I don't know, 1,500.
Okay, you must have known about this because that's spot on.
This is the first I've ever heard about it, like, sincerely.
Yeah, that's exactly the price. For $1,500, all that and more can be yours.
Damn, it's a lot of money up front. If I could maybe get it. And...
You also do get digital copies of all the movies, and it goes, to be clear, it's 100 movies from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs all the way to Elemental.
That's not bad.
It's actually not per thing, no.
And I am considering that. Can you send me a link? Is it available to pre-order somewhere?
It will be available on Walmart.com starting on the 14th, which is later this week.
Really?
Yes,
like, not even through Best Buy?
Right now, they're only saying Walmart, but more may join. I don't know, but I'll throw it in our little group chat. So, Kevin, if they sneak a Kingdom Hearts thing in there, you can also buy it.
Oh God, imagine!
I'm trying to think of like, would
Can
they
you imagine?
I don't think there's any like sort of media, like just straight up TV
Just
or
media.
video components
Yeah.
in Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, there was that animated show that had a pilot. I don't know if the pilot has some lore, but
I mean, that
Is
won't
that
be here. It's only
real?
movies.
yeah, I mean, you could find like parts of the pilot. Oh no! It was only ever storyboarded, so there's like little bits animated, but it was never picked up. So yeah,
God.
but it is real.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, by the way, I got it slightly wrong. The pre-order date is September 18th.
My birthday.
So, Angel, you have to
Wow.
get it. Exactly. You now are
Wow,
obligated.
this looks pretty cool.
It comes with like legit. It has like some interesting stuff. It has like James and the Giant Peach, which isn't traditional animation. It has Frankenweenie. It has Nightmare Before Christmas. It has such great movies as Planes, Fire, and Rescue.
Yes.
So, yeah, everyone loves that one. Or how about Pooh's Heffalump movie from 2005?
You know what? This actually is kind of a godsend because I have many, many Disney movies, and
Indeed.
and because I got them at different periods of time when Disney, they're like, oh, we got the Walt Disney collection, like the Walt collection or the signature collection. They're white boxes with Walt signature. Have some like that. I have the platinum. I have some in the platinum collection. I have, whenever they decide to release. Then I have some in the Diamond collection, and then I have some in 3D. And for some reason, Dumbo, even though it's a Blu-ray, it comes in a DVD box, which is annoying. So, yeah, it'd be nice to like. My goal was kind of like to unify all of them somehow. So this kind of resolves that. And because I'm already not really buying a lot of physical media anyway, just getting these first 100 sounds really good. And then the rest, I could just keep getting digitally and just not really worry about it. It's only the classics that I would want to have physically. So
And it's a cool box set, honestly.
yeah, I am.
I love how I'm reading an article from The Wrap. That's why I sent you guys. But I love how they're like. What's fascinating about the set is that it includes a wide variety of Walt Disney animation features, along with beloved Pixar favorites and a smattering of films. Parentheses. Many of them direct-to-video sequels to earlier masterworks, which I think is a sort of read between the lines of they're saying those direct-to-video sequels are not masterworks.
Hey man, that means it includes Aladdin 2 and 3, which Aladdin 3 was really nice.
Actually, I don't know if it does.
That's a
weirdly
direct-to-video
enough.
sequel, right?
I know, but it seems to only have select direct-to-video sequels because I don't see Aladdin 2 on here. Or
Wait, there's a list?
there's a list on the link I sent you guys. It also doesn't have Lion King 1.5.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's just a
I
smattering
don't care
of
about that
others.
one.
But if you did, you'd be sad.
Alright, well, I'm looking through the list now, so I'll see you guys in a bit.
Yeah, I'll take you a while to scroll through.
I guess not too. I'm gonna go 25.
Although, actually, I'm gonna pull
The
you
Black
back
Cauldron.
in
I
here,
could finally
Angel.
watch that movie.
You've never seen it?
I guess not. I think I've seen parts of it. I just know there's a little hairy dude and a black cauldron and Zelda and the Lich King or something.
I mean, not quite Zelda, but sure. Not Zelda in that sense.
And it's
Zelda.
Kevin's favorite movie because I think I've heard Kevin reference it more than anyone else that I know.
The Black Cauldron?
Yeah.
Mainly because of not the running joke. I mean, I guess it's kind of a running joke. Like, because like who's gonna watch the Black Cauldron? Come on.
Well, when
Who
you
loves
have
the Black
99 other movies to choose from, yeah, it's gonna get buried. Because why would you watch the Black Cauldron when you can watch? Oh, wait.
Oh yeah, no extreme Goofy movie.
No, actually, no Goofy.
No
movie.
Goofy movie was there.
Oh, there's a Goofy movie, so it's not all of them, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'd rather take a extreme Goofy movie and what's it called, Aladdin 2 and 3 over Planes and Planes 2. But then you never know. Maybe they're actually good.
There's probably a passionate following of people who love planes, fire, and rescue. This is actually the first time that Soul and Luca and I think, just those two are going to be available physically at all.
Lightyear's in here?
Of course it is.
We made it to Lightyear? All right.
Anyway, while we're on the topic of movies, before you get too down that rabbit hole, Andrew, I'm going to pull you right back out.
I just finished the list.
Turtles.
I'm happy that it ends with Elemental. I really want to watch that movie.
It's out on Disney Plus in 2 days as of this recording. You can watch it starting Wednesday.
Oh.
Disney is not paying us for this episode, I swear. What?
But the bitrate, Blu-ray has so much more bitrate than streaming.
True.
I don't know. I probably
wouldn't
wouldn't be able
player, so.
I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference, honestly.
Yeah, it's like those people that say, you could tell the difference, like the audiophiles that insist you could tell the difference with one high-end speaker versus another high-end speaker. I can tell the difference between low-end and high-end, but once you get into the weeds of the high-ends, you lost me. Like, it's all just nice sounding.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. But anyway, Angel, is there anything else you want to say about Lorcana before we move on?
I guess seeing this list of movies made me feel like, damn, they have so many cards to go through with Lorcana. But yeah,
when you said they don't have a lot of cards, I was thinking, no, they own the most IPs in the world.
Considering how many...
Marvel, they can fold in Pixar, they can fold in Star Wars.
And even just between... they have their TV shows that they'll eventually do. We could get Recess and stuff like that. But just looking at how many... There's like so...
You could get a card of Lizzie McGuire.
There's so many Stitches already.
Or even Stevens.
There's so many Tinkerbells. It's like, yeah. Yep.
And once they start folding in... Never mind that. Once they start folding in, like... other things they do, like their music catalog, and you get real weird because Disney owns a huge record label, so just imagine. but anyway, but we were talking about movies. Angel, you and I had the privilege of watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem together the other night. Your second
4 a.m.
time
Police
talking about it on the podcast. Yes,
I'm sorry,
that
what?
is something that is said. Ice Cube quotes himself in the movie when he plays Superfly. And he says that line.
Yes,
gotcha.
But yeah, Ninja Turtles. That was my first time seeing it. Angel, that was your second?
Yeah, it was my third, and I think it was kind of like a roller coaster. It went from very high highs of just seeing a fun animated turtle film that wasn't terrible to kind of like, okay, like I think it was kind of a honeymoon phase where I think I liked it more than it really was. And then the third time, I think I enjoyed it more than my second viewing. Kind of like how I enjoyed Toy Story 4 much more on a later viewing than an earlier one. Like to the point that I would say, I don't know, I think I rank it higher than at least part 1.
What? Okay,
maybe
sure.
Part 2.
Sure. No judgment. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Maybe part 3.
Nope.
I think they just kept getting better.
Sorry,
and
that's
better.
where your
I think
opinion
2
becomes
was better
invalid.
than 1.
No,
I think 3 was better than 2, and 4 was better than 3.
I think your opinion just like bottoms out when you say it's better than 3. I think there's a point where you're just incorrect.
I think 3.
Kevin, have you seen?
It's kind of. I've seen 3 so many, like literally so many times.
Well, that's you doing it to yourself.
Yeah.
Then. If you're losing the emotional oomph because you kept watching it, looking, itching for a fix, and you had to keep getting higher and higher and doing more and more, then that's
there was
on
a
you.
period, or there was a time in my life when I forgot what cousin we had over. They were very young. We watched the movie, and then they wanted to watch it again, so we put it in again. And I think we did that maybe
I can never do
3
that.
times over the course of maybe a couple days. So
I don't think I can even do that with the Mario movie.
it also
And
kind of
I
happened
love
to
the
Wreck-It
Mario movie.
Ralph. That one kind of survived being so desensitized to
Are,
it.
are you saying
But I am.
that...
It might take a few more years, but right now I'm numb to Toy Story 3. Just a little bit.
Well, that's you. I mean, that's just building up a tolerance
feel you
to the
there.
emotional highs. You brought it on yourself.
Tired of being what you
Kevin,
want me
have you
to
seen
be.
Mutant Mayhem?
Anyway.
Yes, you're calling Linkin Park, and I appreciate that as a fan. Kevin, have you seen Mutant Mayhem yet?
No, I have not.
All right, so we'll stay away from spoilers, but
Don't care. You've spoiled away.
this
What
was-
is there to spoil?
there's not a lot of spoil,
I can't
really.
even think
I
of
just
anything
don't
that
know.
could
I
be
don't
spoiled. The trailer literally shows the final
yeah,
battle
there
against the
actually isn't
big
a lot.
the thing at the end.
Super duper fly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did enjoy it. I'm not as deep of a turtle guy as you. Well, I love the animals, turtles. I love turtles, like as an animal, but I'm not as big into the Ninja
Did you ever have
Turtles
turtles?
as I know. I never had turtles of my own, but I used to go to Hawaii when I was a kid every spring break, and the resort we went to had sea turtles, and I started collecting like random little sea turtle trinkets. So I had artificial turtles, and then once a year I'd see real turtles, and that is the extent of my turtles.
Angel, did you ever have turtles?
Yeah, we had a pet turtle named Donatello, or was it Leonardo?
Of course it is.
At one point too.
Wow, you don't even remember? Oof.
It was Obuses.
Poor turtle.
But
Did you, Kevin, have a turtle?
it's like one of those fairy turtles that are really
I
tiny.
think yeah, the like really small ones. Yeah, I definitely had one of those.
Man, I didn't realize everyone had a turtle but me. Well, my childhood was such a disappointment now.
It's not like it's a
Where was
life-changing
all that?
experience.
It sounds like it. I wouldn't know. I never
Taught
had
me
one.
responsibility.
But,
I'll tell you that much.
What was that?
It did teach me about responsibility
Oh,
and how
yeah,
I wasn't
yeah,
responsible
yeah.
at all.
Oh, no. Did your turtle survive this episode of learning responsibility?
Absolutely not. That's why. Come on.
Oh, poor turtle. Well, you know what turtles do survive? Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael. They all make it through the movie. No,
Didn't
but
Donatello die in the comics?
yeah, I was.
He did for
In the
a little
movie.
bit.
And then they introduced Lady Turtle, right?
Eventually they did, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Who's
second
also
and then
not in the
second
movie.
Lady Turtle.
Here's what will get you to watch the movie, Kevin. Sydney from The Bear. Ao.
Oh yeah, I know she plays
what's her
Abronia.
last name? Yeah, and she's basically playing Sydney. So
Okay, cool.
like very similar delivery, and it works. It works very well. But yeah, no, I haven't been as big into turtles at all as I know that the Salado boys are, Angel and Elvis. But
Endeavor.
That's a lot.
the Salati. But I will say it was a very fun movie. Yeah, it I think honestly my biggest exposure to Ninja Turtles has been through Angel. So seeing like the old movies, seeing bits and pieces of other media of theirs. Like as a kid, I never really watched it at all. So I watched Street Sharks randomly and SWAT Cat. I watched all the other animals that were anthropomorphic fighters of some sort, but I didn't watch the original, which was weird. But no, the movie's really fun. I really liked it. I think it definitely takes some liberties in terms of feeling comfortable to go in a crazy stylized direction from Spider-Verse. It definitely takes some liberties in terms of really having, or not some liberties, but it utilizes that Spider-Verse had a very distinct soundtrack and kind of, in a different way, does its own thing where it's like, yeah, we're going to have a really distinct sound to this movie, a really distinct style and vibe. And I think the vibe definitely. I mean, Angel, what would you say? I would say the visuals maybe go even further than what Spider-Verse did. Like there are parts that look straight up like it's kind of grungy. It's kind of sketched.
Grungy,
it's very
yeah.
like yeah.
Because I mean,
I read
Spider-Verse,
online I read online that somebody said that it looks like Psychonauts Like it has like
Oh,
grunge.
yeah.
That's like
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Now that
a
you
lot
mention
of-
it, yeah.
Like, you know,
Whoa,
there is
yeah.
very little symmetry in that movie. Even like amongst the turtles, like faces are, you know, not conventionally pretty drawings, but
Especially the
like
humans.
it really adds to the whole style because, you know, turtles, like, you know, Spider-Verse has clearly like a very like beautiful art direction, but everything has like this very polished feel to it. But you know, it's great. Like almost every frame of that movie would make like an amazing wallpaper. This one, you have some shots that could make an amazing wallpaper. Others, you might be like, I don't know if I'd use that as a wallpaper, but it looks very cool or very stylized.
And that's what I think is cool about it, because that felt to me very late 80s, early 90s, like that sort of like grungy, gritty art, you know, like the original Turtles, Garbage Pail Kids,
Yeah, but like
Ren and Stimpy, like that was a very much, that made sense.
yeah, because
to me,
whether
to have it be like
whether
that.
it was intentional or not, you know, when the Turtles first came out, it was literally like an indie comic. It was just Eastman and Laird working out of like a garage. They got a loan from their uncle of like about $1,000 or something, and they printed those comics out themselves. And they only were able to print out like about like 1,000 or so, not even thinking that they would sell. And this was already when, you know, Spider-Man and all those big Marvel and DC heroes were already out in full swing. So like they thought they had no chance.
Full swing.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Full Swing. That was good. That was good.
And, you know, and the original comic looked kind of rough too, like in a cool way. Like it had a very distinct, very thick outline, very sketchy look. And this almost like replicates that in like, you know, you look at the way the Turtles look versus, you know, the way Spider-Verse looks. Like, you know, compare the theatrical Marvel movie versus the theatrical Turtle movie. It feels like your big budget studio versus like an indie. I mean, obviously, indies would not be able to produce something that looks like this, but, you know, it gives off that kind of vibe, I guess.
And truthfully, I think that's part of why this works so well. Is like when the Bay movies, like the Michael Bay Turtle movies came out, like they were trying to be, it felt like, the big dogs. You know, like they were like, oh, we have to be the CG. Like they look like Transformers, but turtles. Like the CG and stuff. Like it's the same, like metal and brown. And like, so like this really, it felt like it had such its own lane and personality and style, and like even the way that, and this kind of goes back to, you know, the grungy like Garbage Pail Kid vibe. I'm sure it was somewhat just to fit the, you know, asymmetry you're saying, but also all the humans, or almost all the humans in this movie, look rather like borderline grotesque, which I'm sure was supposed to be some sort of little nod to, oh, the turtles are the mutants, but the humans look worse type of thing. Like the humans look more freakish than the turtles.
Monstrous in a way. No more monster than
it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, but I think it found like that visual lane, and then it did a really, like, it feels very contemporary. Like the dialogue, the references. I know Turtles have always in general referenced a lot of their eras. Like the early Turtles would talk a lot about stuff from the 80s and early 90s, and then like I know that's kind of par for the course, but it was like the slang, the I don't know, it felt very like bunch of teenagers in a movie that happen to be turtles. Like I don't know how very like there's one scene that's been making the rounds now that's out on digital of like the four kids that play the turtles basically improvising like random like gibberish. Like they're talking about like what?
Just riffing on each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like just toy riffing. It doesn't make sense. Like it's not like there's no like sequence to it. It's not like they talk about like bacon, eggs, and cheeses, and then they start saying we outside, and they start saying you're like it had no logic or anything, but it just felt very like, oh yeah, you're just a bunch of kids joking around with inside jokes, and like the whole movie had, I'm sure in part because the turtles are supposed to be informed only by pop culture because they weren't allowed into the world, like a lot of just nods and references and things that are like very specific pop culture references. Like they're the thing about Mark Ruffalo that's very specific to a very specific scene, and it was, it's just one of those things. I'm like, I don't know how well it's gonna age in 15 years. Like if kids watch it, and I don't know if that's true for the early Turtles. That if kids watch it now, they're like, I don't get half the references. But that plus the grungy art style made it really feel like kind of its own thing, and not just something that's riffing off Spider-Verse's animation success or something that's trying to be like a reboot of a big IP that Nickelodeon wants to blow up. Like it felt like its own thing, and that was cool. That was fun as a result.
Very, very much happy with what this became. Glad there's like a show that's, I guess, going to lead up to the next movie, because obviously we get a proper movie with Shredder coming up at some point. And,
And one thing we should shout out. Also,
giant
it
standee
had,
that we
and
managed
I
to
think this
cop.
goes. Oh yeah, you guys have a standee that's like floor to ceiling from the movie theater. But no, I was gonna say also probably got this from Spider-Verse because Spider-Verse sort of paved the way in terms of success. They were able to get like it wasn't just like, oh, we made a movie where turtles are fine. Like there was some stylist. There was a great fight montage set to no diggity. It's really slick how they did it. Like that, you don't see that. Like this isn't just like they didn't phone this movie in. You could tell it was kind of a passion project for those involved, and that was it shines through. Like it made for
got like a
even though I don't know much about the turtles.
got like an audible reaction from
plot,
Jason of just like wow, like that was genuinely like really cool. Like that's
yeah, and here's the thing,
and the jokes
if
and
I
Paul
step
Rudd,
back.
of course, but yeah.
Oh yeah, Paul Rudd. I didn't even know was in it. That was great. Or he didn't know he was in it at all. But if I step back and we could, the plot, the character arc, like nothing here is groundbreaking. Nothing here is like super unique or necessarily super interesting. But it's just all so well executed in such a style and with such a vibe that it just works. Like if we were talking about the plot, it'd be the most like let's be honest, it'd be pretty. And to your point about like you kind of got out of the honeymoon period of it, it's a pretty basic plot. Like it's a pretty straightforward. Nothing to write home about, really, but just the way it's all packaged up and the way it's presented is done in such a nice way.
Yeah. Milking.
Yeah. Okay, the milking thing maybe is a bit out of left field and not quite as cookie cutter as some other parts of the plot. But yes,
I just like your reaction, like, wow, I didn't think they would pay that off.
Yeah, someone really loved that joke because they reference it like 6 times throughout the movie, and then it has the payoff. Yeah. Like at first, I thought they're just drilling the not what's the term where you like drill it into the ground. That's what I thought they were doing, and there was the payoff. So, yeah, but that's just one of a few movies that have been flashed across our eyeballs in the last couple of weeks. Have you guys seen any other movies that you want to talk about at all? I have a DC catch up I've been doing.
I mean, I know I talked about Blue Beetle and The Flash here not so long ago, but I know you hadn't seen them yet.
Did you talk about Blue Beetle?
I did.
I don't remember you talking about Blue Beetle.
I talked about it being aggressively Mexican. Yeah.
Oh, it is, and I don't mean that negatively.
No.
No, it
was like aggressively
yeah,
Mexican
no.
and like oh, they like are being genuine about it. Not like in a racist kind of way. Like George Lopez was pretty funny. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Did
you catch in Blue Beetle, Baby Sport? Did you catch all the old video game tech that popped up in there?
I mean, not to be like. Well, I think the only one that obviously stood out the most was the Power Glove at the end. But I guess when I saw it, I was kind of like, oh yeah, of course they have the Power Glove. I don't know why I thought, of course they had the Power Glove. Like the Power Glove like it's such a common thing, but. Yeah, I don't know. Something about it just didn't like hit me the way I think they thought it would hit me.
That one didn't, but what did was there's a millisecond of a Game Boy camera being used, and then my favorite, they got an N-Gage in the movie, and not the original N-Gage, the one that bombed harder, the N-Gage QD, the second N-Gage. Both of those, both that and the Game Boy Color or Game Boy camera showed up, and I was like, wow, these are actually very specific things they're pulling, but sure, why not? But yeah, you kind of alluded to it already, but I have, in the last, 5-6 weeks, watched, in release order, Shazam 2, The Flash, and, non-release order. Shazam 2, then Blue Beetle, then The Flash. So I kind of bounced around. And yeah, I don't know why I'd stopped seeing DC movies in particular in theaters. Wasn't intentional, just kind of happened. But having now caught up with them, yeah, I think Blue Beetle deserves more love. I think The Flash gets too much flack, and I think Shazam is about as flat as everyone said it was. I love the first Shazam. I really like the first Shazam. I don't think the second one hit any real highs in the same way, but also didn't really have any lows. It just kind of was. Like, I don't know. I think if of these 3 movies, if there's any that to me screams superhero fatigue, which is this thing everyone's saying. Everyone has superhero fatigue, which is probably true to some extent. Shazam 2 probably felt the most like it. Because here was a kind of isolated movie. Like, it's connected to the DC Extended Universe, and they have some cameos that feel very forced as a result. But, like, it's kind of on its own, but it does the whole, like, everything has to be world destroying. You know, it starts like, oh, it's a simple thing now. Oh, so it's the whole world. The third act's all just CG. Like they kind of try and do a mythical angle, which Shazam did in the first one, but this one goes a little hard. They have unicorns in it, not rainbow colored, just unicorns. And it's like, it's fine, but like, I don't know. It didn't. The first one had a lot of heart. The first one had a lot, like the idea of like kind of this foster kid figuring out what was going on with his parents and trying to get in touch with his birth mom, and like it had some real heart and some real like actually kind of touching moments that were unique for a superhero movie. And Shazam 2 felt like they dropped like all of that, and it was fine. But like there's nothing like, for those who aren't familiar with Shazam, like, you know, there's Billy who turns into Shazam. Billy's a kid. Shazam's an adult with the sensibilities of a kid. They try to make Billy be more mature in the second one and start to wonder about, like, what if he loses his family? He can't lose his foster family. They mean everything to him. And that's like I wouldn't even call it a B plot. That's like a D plot. It's so minimal. And then they cut to him being Shazam, and Shazam's goofier and more childish than probably ever. So that's a weird juxtaposition that didn't really make sense. And then it just, from there, they had star power. They had Helen Mirren, they had Lucy Liu, but it just didn't really capture me in any way, if that makes sense. But then The Flash, we're going to jump around a little. Then The Flash, without spoiling anything, because I know, Kevin, you haven't seen it.
Don't care. You can spoil
that
it
one got
all you want.
Oh, all right. Well, that one got a little flat. So maybe spoilers for those who are listening. And Angel, I'm curious what you think now that I'm getting to The Flash and Blue Beetle. But I felt like The Flash got a lot of flack because of some of that CG, which was not good. But I felt like under that was actually, it had some heart, and it was trying to experiment and do things and be a little different than just another.
It felt very genuine.
Movie. Yeah, it felt like everything that Shazam 1 was, but Shazam 2 wasn't. If that makes sense. So to watch them kind of back to back, I was kind of like, oh, here's the Shazam like heartfelt vibe I was feeling. Because yeah, I mean, straight up, the CG is not good in The Flash. It's very video gamey at times. Some stuff's intentional. So when they do the time travel and the timeline travel, they do it with like it's actually kind of clever. They do it like a zoetrope. You know, those things where like, it's like that thing in the round and it sits there and you can see these intricately detailed little like figurines that are painted, and then when they turn it on, it starts spinning. The figurines move so fast in such a way that it basically becomes like a flip book, and it looks animated as it's spinning, like if you look through a peephole. So basically their thought was like, okay, so whenever Flash goes through a time warp or a timeline, he goes into this zoetrope, and then the zoetrope stops and everything's just kind of frozen in these like moments that are very, you know, similar to one another but a little different, because that's where the timeline splits. And I thought that was clever, and that explains maybe or hides some of the bad CG. Because, yeah, you can have people look like porcelain, you can have people look like figurines, that's fine. But then the stuff where they didn't try and hide the CG was just not good. Like, there's a scene where he's, like, catching babies in the air, and that looked not great, and there's just a lot of obvious green screen. And then they do this thing at the end where they reference other timelines with, like, other Superman and Batman actors who are no longer around or were never actually cast.
That scene
like
looks
Nicolas
terrible.
Cage as Superman. That scene, the CG, I don't know. Like, I can understand the zoetrope excuse for why some of the CG looked how it looked. That was not the zoetrope. I don't know what was going on with that CG. But again, it felt like someone had an idea of wouldn't it be cool to nod to all these legacy DC things and the fan service of the Nick Cage thing and all that. And it's just like, it felt genuine, to use Angel's word, but it didn't feel like it was executed well on the technical side. And that feels like a lot of The Flash. Like, there's a lot of genuine stuff in it, a lot of heart in it. I know Ezra Miller, there's a lot going on in their real life that can definitely make you not want to support them in a movie. But I will say, in the movie, if you're watching on Max or whatever, Ezra Miller's playing two characters, but there are scenes where it's just Ezra Miller talking to other Ezra Miller for like prolonged periods of time, and it didn't feel annoying to me. Like, it felt like they did a good job, like, of sort of being the foil to themselves. And that, you know, that takes some talent and some decent writing, and like again, it felt like there was some real effort put into it, and there were a lot of ideas that were sound. It just, some of the execution, maybe budget reasons, maybe reshoot budgets, I don't know, like some of the execution just wasn't there. But I definitely liked it, I think, more than a good chunk of the internet did. I mean, Angel, you seem pretty up on it too, actually, like pretty upbeat about it.
Yeah, I mean, I also kind of liked how Yeah, I mean, just I agree with pretty much everything you said, but I think one of the parts that still kind of surprised me was how I guess they played up the fact that the Flash's character Barry was kind of annoying in the beginning. Like he was already kind of like
Yeah.
super jokey and stuff, and he could be a little grating, but I didn't realize that was going to be a whole arc of like, oh, he actually grows out of that, and you actually end up kind of like rooting for him. And
yeah, and I thought they were able to pull it off so
Yeah.
well because they had Ezra Miller being like the grading and the not grading kind of like, yeah.
oh yeah, although his younger self, oh my god, he almost like pushed the gratingness, but I guess that was kind of also kind of the point. But still,
Yeah, no, there is a I
That
don't wanna keep
laugh,
using the
oh my
word
God.
vibe, but not just that laugh, but there's a good chunk of the movie where I was like, this is like someone shoved a 90s style, like, over the top comedy into a superhero movie. Like, there's a lot of, like, I don't want to say like Ace Ventura, but like the more physical, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a certain type of comedy movie that was super big in the early mid 90s, maybe up to like The Mask or something. There were definitely bits and pieces of that style put into this movie. It waned in the second half, but the first half was very, like, not slapstick, but kind of, like, ridiculous. Like, the baby thing that I was mentioning. That was an insane set piece. Like, that was, like, insane to the point of almost stupid set piece. But, like, you could tell that they had some heart in it. And by the end, I came around on the whole movie. Because, yeah, the first third, I was a little like, but it eased up, and I actually really liked it by the end. Yeah, and I think I was making a point about superhero fatigue. I think Flash, because it is a little bit different in the sense of, it's tying in stuff you've already watched with the extended DC universe. It's not just like a rote, like, here's, a world-ending thing you need to solve. Like, it's kind of a personal story about Barry, had the family elements like Shazam 1 did, but also tied into a lot of stuff that if you watch any of DC movies, you recognize all the way back to Man of Steel. Like, it kind of overcame the fatigue feeling for me just because it didn't feel like it was more the same. It felt like it was actually trying to sort of tie up some ends with DC's extended universe or reset it to be able to go into James Gunn's. Obviously, that wasn't necessarily the intention, but it kind of does do that. So, yeah, I actually kind of like Flash. So that's number 2. Number 3 is Blue Beetle. And Angel, as we discussed, you've seen this too, but Kevin, I'm guessing you have not seen this one either?
I have not seen it, no.
Blue Beetle is going to defy everything I just said because Blue Beetle is a superhero origin story that doesn't seem to do much new for superhero movies. I mean, literally, it's, Angel, tell me if you feel otherwise, but to me, it feels like it's basically Iron Man crossed with Spider-Man.
oh yeah,
Like,
easily.
Yeah, like, it's not very original, but something about it. I don't know if it's Zolo, what's his name, the Cobra Kai guy. I don't know if it's his charm. I don't know if it's George Lopez is the kind of crazy uncle. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's kind of the fact that it leans so heavily into a specific culture with all the, like, Hispanic stuff. I don't know, but something about it. Maybe it's the smaller stakes. It's not world-ending things you're solving. Something about it, though. It doesn't feel like it has the, like, something like Shazam 2. Like, it had a lot of heart. It had some funny moments. It had some, it's very basic origin story of kind of a hodgepodge of things we've seen on the Marvel side, but it just, I don't know, it just nailed it. The CG wasn't horrible. Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. But, like, I don't know, just something about it was just very charming, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, actually it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that it actually is slowly gaining some momentum. It outperformed Shazam 2 at the box office. I think it's about to or already did outperform The Flash. And from what James Gunn's been saying, this version of Blue Beetle will live on in his DC universe, or at least Zolo. What's his last name? At least he'll play the guy again, though. So yeah, it's kind of like it's interesting to watch them or have them come out in the order they did, because you have like Shazam 2 kind of being what felt like everything problematic with the DC extended universe. The Flash being like, well, here's what's bad about it, but also here's what's good about it. And then Blue Beetle being like, okay, well, now here's just kind of the good part, the heart, the humor. Like, we're gonna go with that now. Like, it kind of forms a nice little story arc between the three in a way, or like a meta arc or something. But yeah, so Blue Beetle's still in theaters. I recommend if anyone likes superhero movies. It's fun. It's nothing crazy. Some of the jokes are a little childish. The farting spaceship being one of them, or ship, not spaceship. But for the most part, it's a fun movie. Yeah. I think that's all I've got on the DC front. Anything you want to add, Angel, since you've seen some of them?
The way they killed off the villain in Blue Beetle was a little darker than I expected, or it seemed a little.
Oh yeah.
I was like, huh.
Yeah.
That was huh.
Tonally, that movie jumps around a lot. Actually, like it goes from like dumb humor to like kind of dark to like kind of serious to like more dumb humor, like to social. There's a lot of social commentary in that one. It's an interesting grab bag, kind of.
Yeah.
Much like Blue Beetle himself, who's kind of a grab bag of multiple other heroes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my DC catch up, or DCCU, which is almost like the DCEU, but with another C. Was there anything else we were going to talk about on today's show, or are we kind of just waiting for that wave of news to all hit?
That was a lot of movies lately. I don't think I'm actually going to watch. I know I'm eventually going to, like we said, I'm eventually going to watch Elemental. I mean, if I see Barbie, I'm sure it'll happen at some point. I can't see myself.
It's good.
Watching Oppenheimer, maybe unless like one of you guys wants to watch it and I just happen to be there. That's the only way I could see myself.
Well, you had that opportunity. Kevin and I already saw it together.
Yeah, that's it. I would already have to be in that environment.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'm looking forward to is obviously Godzilla -1, which I think comes out sometime in December.
What about the Apple TV Monarch
and of course
Monstervers show?
I'm curious about it.
The CG looks. They put out a trailer.
The CG looks insane,
and the CG looks movie quality. Like, what? Did Apple put the bill on that, or did they just cut up a movie into 10 episodes? Like, it looks really good.
Huh. I have to.
It literally looks like the movie. And I could say this because, Kevin, when I was hanging with Angel over the weekend, for some reason we watched the climactic fight of all the Godzilla movies that have come out since the reboot in 2014.
Oh,
I don't know why we did that.
Movies?
Yeah, exactly. So we watched like all of them. And yeah, the CG is, I don't know if it's fully on par, but it's really not too far removed.
Okay, how much time do we have left?
As much as you want.
We've only been on the air for an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay, so I have an issue with the Monsterverse.
Let's do it.
So the trailer, Angel, you didn't see the trailer, right?
I'm watching it right now.
Okay. So let me
Blur it
know
out when you
you're
get to the good CG.
Is that Kurt Russell?
The trailer's like a minute and a half, so is it just a minute and a half of dead air? Or Kevin, let's chat. Movies, books, television. I'm just saying words.
I haven't read a book in. I haven't read a book in forever.
The last book I read, I believe, was Reggie's book about a year ago.
Reggie's book, gotcha.
So
yeah.
So it has to be Nintendo related to get my attention. Otherwise, the most reading I do is the internet, for better or worse, or both.
Yeah, I gotta start reading more.
I tell myself that, but I know I won't. Like, I read a lot. I consume a lot of written word, just not in book form.
Oh yeah, sure.
Internet form.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I tell myself to feel better about not being an intellectual, you know?
No, I feel that. There was a year. There was a year when I was gonna make it my mission to try and read at least one book a week, and the first book that I picked up was.
I hope it's as interesting as it's implied to be. But I could also see it being one of those like.
Wait. Kevin, what were you saying? Let's one at a time. I know I interrupt a lot, but one at a time.
No, I picked up Noah Hawley's, or Hawley, is that his name? I think it was like his novel debut. But Noah Hawley essentially was the showrunner of the Fargo TV show in Legion.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wrote a book, and that was going to be my first book, and got maybe, I don't know, like 50 pages into it. Okay.
Yeah, for me, it has to be Nintendo or it has to be Harry Potter.
Gotcha.
Like the original books of Harry Potter.
Angel, you saw that.
Anyway, all right, Monsterverse.
Yeah, hopefully that's interesting as the trailer makes it out to be, but also based on the trailer, it looks like it's going to be one of those nothing happens for like 3 or 4 episodes, then you get maybe one climactic episode.
So it looks more Godzilla and less Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because Godzilla versus Kong.
Honestly, was under the impression that
all monster fights.
I was under the impression that this wasn't going to have Godzilla at all. It was going to just like focus on other monsters, which it looks like
originally the title for this was Godzilla and the Titans. Was the original title for the show. And then it wasn't only
Also,
until recently that they changed it to Monarch Legacy of Monsters.
An interesting casting choice. Kurt Russell, I believe, plays an older version of a character.
After the beginning,
his
like, is that
son,
Kurt
Wyatt
Russell?
Russell.
Mm-hmm.
It's Kurt Russell and his son playing two different periods of time, same person.
So my issue with the Monsterverse is something that I just literally alluded to, where this movie looks more like Godzilla and looks less Godzilla versus Kong, which makes sense because this takes place apparently right after Godzilla.
After the second one, yeah, King of the Monsters.
King of the Monsters?
I believe it's right after King.
No,
of the
I
Monsters.
believe
Is
it's
that
right
the
after the
Godzilla?
first one. Because the
never mind.
tagline is
Take it
right
back.
after, like, I think not the tagline, but the press release was after.
Oh, the log line?
Yeah, after San Francisco got rocked by Mutos and Godzilla.
Okay, yeah, then that's the first one. So no, Millie Bobby Brown will be in that case.
Correct.
This predates her. Yes.
My issue with this whole Monsterverse is that tonally, every movie is completely different from the last. The first Godzilla, the legendary Godzilla, plays it incredibly serious. The second one gets a little looser. And then Godzilla versus Kong is just camp, right? Which I don't mind.
What about Skull Island?
Wonderfully neon lit camp, by the way.
Skull Island also... Skull Island doesn't play it serious, but that's also just because of the contents of that movie, right?
Although Skull Island does a lot of cool stuff with like Vietnam imagery, which is, if you stop and say that out loud, Vietnam imagery about a giant monkey is a bit weird, but gorilla. But yeah, no, you're right. It's not very serious.
It's just, I hate how inconsistent the tone is. Like, right after this show, we're going to see Godzilla vs. Kong 2. And that's just going to feel more like, Godzilla vs. Kong.
Can't be.
Which I don't have a problem with.
Yeah.
But if you're going to make this universe, at least make it tonally consistent. It's just all over the place.
That's something.
The Marvel thing?
Well, I was going to say, that's something for everything that people knock about, even the DC Extended Universe and Marvel. They're very good at making it fit together in a way that you can still have your own style in every Marvel movie, but they don't feel out of place side by side. Like, it's not like Black Panther shows up in Avengers and you're like, whoa, this does not fit him at all. Like, it all fits. Like, the puzzle pieces all come together tonally. So maybe we don't give enough credit to those who actually execute it well,
Yeah, that's just my 2 cents on the Monsterverse. I wish I loved it more, but the tonal inconsistency between movies just, I don't know, there's something that happens in my brain where I'm like, Godzilla vs. Kong feels like it shouldn't even belong in the same universe as, 2014 Godzilla? The first one? I think it was 2014.
Well, there's a
I
lot.
love that movie.
It's interesting.
Maybe it's because I love that movie more than I love the other movies.
There's definitely an element I've noticed with Godzilla movies in particular where it seems like they're very responsive to the fan feedback and maybe almost overcorrect. Because, like, not just tone, but also, like, how much do you see of Godzilla? How much is the fighting there? Like, if you watch 2014 Godzilla and then you watch Godzilla versus Kong, yeah, one's a movie about humans that has, like, a monster kind of floating about, and the other one's just, like, here's two essentially giant, like, here's a giant Pokemon battle that's destroying a city, essentially. Like, it's very, and I think that's because fans after 14 are like, there's not enough Godzilla, and then there's no real way to steer it towards Godzilla versus Kong without it getting a little campier, because at the end of the day, you're talking about a lizard and a gorilla, wrecking a city while punching each other.
No, I get it, but it's
out
just...
their mouths.
I get it. But it's just a little annoying.
No, but I get what you mean, totally. They were very reactive to fans with that franchise, while maybe DC and Marvel were a little more subtle in how they catered to feedback.
Mm-hmm. And, like, don't get me wrong, like, I understand the criticisms that people have of Legendary Godzilla. That movie's not for
I've always
everybody.
Enjoyed them, honestly. Even the 2014.
I enjoy.
I mean, the Bryan
all
Cranston fake out was a little weird.
I enjoy all of them.
Yeah. Same.
It's just, like I said, if you watch Godzilla 2014 and then Godzilla vs. Kong, they're, like, completely separate universes.
Right.
That's what they feel like.
I mean, Angel, do you prefer more Kong, right? So do you kind of like what it's turned into, or are there elements of the early Godzilla movies from Legendary that you miss seeing or wish they still kept?
I guess I liked it better when there were less people to follow. I mean, it's not like I automatically hate the human parts, but just that it also depends on who. I don't know. You have to be.
So then Godzilla versus Kong is more what you want.
Yeah, but just with different people, maybe less people to follow as well. Because I
so even
wouldn't
more in the direction of Godzilla versus Kong than they've already gone.
Like if it wasn't for, I guess, Quicksilver, or at least Quicksilver's performance of the direction, the way they directed him. Like he was just a very boring character. Like I did not care about anything he did. Every time he was on screen, it was like
which is a valid point.
Which just kind of felt eye rolly. Just because he was just so wooden, like in everything he did there, when I know he could do better because I've seen him in other stuff. Where I felt like Godzilla vs. Kong was kind of on the other extreme, where all the human characters annoyed me because they were just so, I don't know, maybe overly campy or just like way too much like caricatures.
Mm-hmm. They're super campy.
Like like Millie Bobby's character, the friend character, and the conspiracy character, like. You know, it was like eye rolling for the opposite reason. It's like, I don't know, they broke immersion in a movie where you're having a giant gorilla fight a giant lizard. Like, I was able to accept the inconsistency of like getting to the center of the earth. We need these like crazy machines to go through this wormhole thing, and then we end up down there. But then they don't go through a wormhole on the way, or Kong can just climb out of there. But
that's what I was about to latch on to. When you're done with your thought, remind me to come back to that.
Like, you know, I like when it's paced well. Like, I mean, some of the earlier Godzilla movies, like, they have human characters. Sometimes those human characters are boring, but sometimes they're unintentionally funny when they're being so serious. But, like, I don't know. It's somewhere in between. I think Godzilla vs. Kong... No, not Godzilla. King of the Monsters have some moments. Honestly, the best parts of the people parts were the parts of part 1 and part 2 where it was that Furukawa guy, the scientist dude. Like,
Ken Watanabe's character.
Yeah, he played
He's great in everything.
Yeah,
I love Ken Watanabe. He absolutely should have been the lead of the entire trilogy.
Seriously, yeah, like
Agreed.
He played that part so well that those were like the only times that I cared about what they were doing, because that's also what makes Godzilla movies interesting sometimes, when they pull off how are people actually dealing with this Godzilla threat or this Godzilla, natural disaster.
Yeah, and in his case, he was just like, no, just let him fight, dog.
Yeah.
Which I always loved.
It became a meme.
Incredible meme.
But,
I love that meme.
I don't know if that answered your question, but...
Kind of, yeah. No, I was going to say, the thing I wanted to earmark where I interrupted you is like, wait, I want to come back to that. Yeah, the thing tonally that I kind of forgot about but just came back to me, they went from sort of realistic to like crazy sci-fi. Like if you look at 2014,
it's very grounded.
That's the part, like, yeah,
and then in Godzilla vs. Kong, they're taking some like spaceship down to the center of the Earth, like.
Yeah. That's the one. Like I was thinking more camp and more like the characters and more like what they were focused on in the movie, but I totally forgot about how it went full on sci-fi out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I think that's why the disconnect in my brain is like, no, it just feels so. Maybe wrong isn't the right word, but I mean, you guys get what I mean, right?
Glued
like
together, slapped together, glued together.
Yeah, kind of. And like I said, these next couple of movies aren't going to help. Like, okay, we're going to get Monarch, which is very, very in line with 2014, and then we're going to get round 2 of Godzilla vs. Kong. Have they announced the title?
I could think of is if they like. Yes, actually, I just saw it the other day, but I forgot what it was. Let me look it up. But yeah, that's the thing. I don't quite. I'm curious. Like, what's the timeline for these? Because if they can justify, well, the Monarch show is in like modern times, like our contemporary times, it'll be a little more grounded. And then if Godzilla versus Kong with its crazy neon cities and stuff and sci-fi is actually 40 years in the future, all right, maybe if there's a time jump they didn't previously really talk about, yeah, I can maybe let it slide. Obviously let it slide up to this point.
I'm sure there is.
They'll find a way to make it canon. Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. And it's Godzilla X Kong. Like a little
so
collab
Godzilla vs.
symbol.
Kong takes place 5 years after King of the Monsters.
Well, so much for my theory there.
And then King of the Monsters takes place 5 years after Godzilla. So there's a 10-year gap in technology from Godzilla
That's
to Godzilla.
plenty of time to get spaceships that drill into the center of the Earth. Come on. Like, to get those hyperdrives, all it takes is 10 years. Yeah. I'm being totally sarcastic if it's not clear. But
This one does look awesome, though. As much as I prefer my Godzilla to be a neutral party as opposed to, just tearing shit up.
It looks like the most direct allegory for post-war Japan. I mean, it's literally set right after, but probably the most direct allegory of what Godzilla was originally an allegory for in, like, decades, right? Like, they haven't really leaned that heavily in on the, like, oh, yeah, he's basically a walking nuke. So that'll be interesting to see, like, how far they go with that.
We'll see.
But yeah, I think, we'll see. I think that does it for this episode, guys. Anything else anyone wanted to throw in? We already did one last second edition, a laster seconds.
I guess not.
All right. We're probably going to have a pretty packed couple episodes coming up because of all the news going on, be it Nintendo, if the rumors turn true, be it Apple announcements, be it, I don't know, maybe one of us is going to be super psyched about the Pixel 8 Plus, who knows, from Google. But anyway, to make sure you don't miss whatever we decide to talk about, you can subscribe to us on all the podcast apps. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora. We're also on YouTube at Ram Nintendo. We're also on Twitter at Ram Nintendo. And individually, we're on social channels as well. You can find Kevin and myself on Twitter. Kevin is KVN Gomi. I am JSR7. You can find Angel on Instagram under World of Weros for his illustrated nuggets of thoughts from his brain. And I think that does it. So I guess I'm going to toss it to you, Kevin, for the final word.
Go Jets, Jets.